moving on to, I guess to the other side of the world again. We're going to talk about A White Day, or Vita Dagar. This is the second feature from the Icelandic director Hilnir Palmason. It tells the story of a police chief who is mourning the accidental death of his wife, but he soon finds out that his wife was keeping a secret, an affair. And with this new information, he begins to investigate the man that he believes was sleeping with her. To start, this movie is incredibly gorgeous to look at. I've actually never been to Iceland. I actually almost went, but I went to a point where like my friends were going to Iceland and I didn't have money for it because I didn't know how to save yet. So they went without me, and we were actually planning a couple months ago actually to go back either next winter or sometime next summer. But then obviously with everything going on with COVID, who knows if that will ever happen. But that being said, I've only seen Iceland through their eyes and through the eyes of filmmakers, and every time I look at it, it looks wonderfully bleak. Like, there's such a overarching tone of gray, and it's usually like foggy and wet, and I love it. Like, that, it sounds so depressing, and honestly, it is a good fit for the movie because it is a relatively sad story if we're really talking. But to me, there's such a sense of like calm whenever I'm in a setting like that, so I dig it. I also love how this movie was shot overall. I was trying to find interviews with the director, but I didn't have time. But I get the sense, or not get the sense, I have a feeling this movie was shot on film. That or they used a filter to give it a film look, because there is film grain throughout it, and it matches the look and tone of the movie. And you can actually see, I can't remember the exact name of it, but like the little like film scratches that pop up on like old movies. You can see it throughout this movie. So I'm guessing they actually did shoot it on like maybe like 24 or 48 millimeter or something like that, but it looks great, and I really dig that look. I think it looks very retro, and it works with the tone. But if we're really talking, the main star of this movie is going to be Ingvar Sigurdsson, who plays Igmundur, the police chief who lost his wife. He, at the beginning of the movie, he starts off as just a quiet, mild-mannered man who seems relatively likable. He seems like a really good dad and a really good grandfather, especially. He spends a lot of time with his granddaughter throughout the entire movie. But as the movie slowly progresses, and the grief and the anger towards his late wife and, the situation that she's put him in, it kind of takes over. You see, like, this darker side of him. And it's never, like, a loud, angry portrayal, except for like certain moments where like you have to blow up because people blow up when they're upset. But it's just this like overarching sadness throughout the movie that he really portrays, especially in his eyes. He just looks tired and weary and just wants to know why this happened and what he did wrong. You really get the sense that like he's a very honorable man. Like, he even talks to one of his friends and says like, "Have you cheated on your wife?" And he was like, and his friend is like, "Yeah. Like, I've only done it once, but, that's just how marriage is." And he's like, "Not for me. She was always enough for me. Like, I never had to do that." He was like, "Yeah, well, like, for me, I just assumed my wife was cheating on me, so I'm like, why as well cheat on her?" So, and this is like a small town, so you can only assume that, like, if people are sleeping with each other, like, everybody kind of knows about it. It's like a little hush-hush thing. So, just for him, this is like the ultimate betrayal, so he just wants to understand why and wants to know who did it. And as he figures out, the puzzle pieces as to, like, who this person is and, finds out where they live, you see this darker side of him take over, and it's very, very intriguing to watch. I also actually want to go back for a moment to appreciate, there are certain long takes throughout this movie that really excel the performances in my eyes. Especially one where there's a fight scene in the latter half of the movie, that there are a few cuts, but for the most part, there's just this wide shot of 3 actors just not fighting well. Like, it's not choreographed. It just looks like they're just like angry dudes who are trying to push each other off one another, and it makes it really realistic. You feel like you're in the room with them, watching them. Like at one point, like Igmundur's pushing his friend in the sink and like just hitting him, and he starts macing him in the face, and you're just like, I'm watching this happen and I want to stop it, but there's nothing I can do. So, in terms of, like, drawing you into the scene, I think that works really well. It almost reminds me a bit of, like, Old Boy, of the really long tracking shot where he's fighting all the dudes in the hallway. But, this movie, I think, will not be for everyone. It is a very quiet movie. It's also very slow. For the most part, if we're talking about the things that really happened in the movie, it takes about an hour to get there. I'd say by the 50-minute mark, that's when like dominoes start falling and the plot kind of gets going, and I started really getting into it. Whereas the beginning of it, I was, swept in by the beautiful scenery and everything that, I guess everything around me, as well as the relationship between Ingemundur and his granddaughter. And actually his daughter, too. His daughter is featured in the movie, and they have a really good relationship as well. It's not as prominent as him and the granddaughter, but it is there. But there were times where I could feel myself trailing off or getting distracted because I was waiting for something to pick up. But when it picks up, it picks up. I would say that definitely the last, let's say, 40 to 50 minutes of the movie are really where it excels in tension and drama. Especially there's a scene that takes place in the middle of the road that is kind of the complication of like all the I guess everybody's choices in this movie, and it's a really great performance from Sigurdsson, and it shows the complexities between his character as a vengeful man but also a loving grandfather. So I really enjoyed this movie. Like I said, it is a slow one, but if you are willing to wait and get through the pacing of it, I think you will really enjoy it. I will give it a 3.5 out of 5. I really dug this movie a lot.